Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Matt from Heroes United with my co-host Bruce here.
Yep.
And we will be bringing you our first ever Heroes United podcast. And this is actually our first one's going to be a special podcast. We'll be covering Comic-Con 2018. And we're going to be covering a lot of topics. And when I tell you a lot of topics, it's going to be a lot of topics.
Hope you got a double shot espresso and that Dunkin' Donuts coffee you're drinking there, because we got a lot to cover.
Truer words never been said. So we're not going to waste any time with introductions. We're going to jump right in because we have a lot to cover. So we're going to start off with the DC side of Comic-Con, because DC pretty much came in. Marvel said, hey, we're skipping Hall H this year. And DC was like, hey, Aquaman trailer, but they also dropped the Shazam trailer all in one day. And the day prior to that, I believe, the Titans trailer dropped.
That did.
Oh, it dropped all.
I could have sworn it did.
I'm pretty sure. I thought that,
I tried my best to keep that out of my mind, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, well
I got my piece to speak
yeah,
on
I'm
that.
say we got things to say. I know I got things to say. Because,
we'll get to that.
Yeah, I think the internet's pretty much poking on that. But we'll put our 2 cents in. But we'll start with the Aquaman trailer. So I will ask you what your thoughts are on the Aquaman trailer, because I already have my own thing I'm going to go off.
I think you and I might have the same opinion on that. I'm going to be that guy and say it if no one's already said it, but I'm pretty sure they already have. It's just Black Panther underwater. I'm sorry. When I looked at that trailer, the entire setup, the way that the trailer was shot, the way it was edited together, the whole thing just seemed like basically the setup for Black Panther. Same premise, same everything. And I mean, I'm not going to have this argument, well, Black Panther came before Aquaman, or Aquaman came out, vice versa. It's just more like a... I don't really blame them, because there's not really a lot of like things they can do for like a beginner Aquaman story, because a lot of the comic mediums always have to explain his parentage, like his where his bloodline comes from, how he becomes king, how he meets Mera, like their child, his rivalry with Orm. That's always how I remembered it from the comics and like any other mediums, like the Justice League cartoon or anything before that.
Yeah, my 2 cents on this trailer, I will say that, and I know it's going to be pretty bold words, but I think this is the most stunning comic book movie I think I've ever seen trailer-wise. It just grabs you. Like, as soon as you hit underwater, the colors pop. Everything has its own unique... It looks like they just took it off. They opened up a comic book page and just took and said, we're doing this exactly the way it looks. We're not trying to make it dark, gritty, any kind of realistic. Right. We're just doing it the way it looks. If it looks goofy,
it is aesthetically pleasing, that I won't deny, just so everyone
and
gets
they picked the right guy for it too. James Wan, he has like that.
Yeah, he's done a lot of
He has like a lot of creativity when it comes to like visual stuff. Because at first I was like, oh, they got the guy from The Conjuring. I was like, I mean, it was scared. It was scared shit.
The cinematography was good in that.
No, cinematography was great. I was like, oh, they're picking this guy. I was like, no. I was like, who knows? I was like, I've seen people get put on projects where I don't necessarily think they're the best fit.
Yeah.
But their creativity really shines.
I didn't have a problem with him being helmed for this. I don't really have a whole lot of problems with the movie. I just thought like the editing and like was kind of choppy for like the trailer itself, but just mechanics out of the way. I mean, I thought like visually it definitely can grab the audience, like you said, and like the filters and like all like the colors.
Yeah.
Like, DC's starting to learn after like how many years?
It's the most vibrant colored movie. Like, it looks like somebody opened the comic book and just like, looks like honestly like his wife Mira, like how red her hair is.
Oh my god! Yeah.
I was like, it looks like.
And Amber Heard's definitely a really good choice, because if you had told me like, let me see, how many years ago? So 2008 was, oh my god, 10 years ago. If you told me 10 years ago that Amber Heard, the girl from Never Back Down, was gonna be like helming like an Aquaman movie as like Mira, I would have laughed in your face and walked away. But then again, 14-year-old me was pretty stupid.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I would be with you on
Yeah,
that one.
I think the casting's actually really good on this one. Like people are, I don't really know if they're noticing how like well-rounded this cast is.
They got Willem Dafoe.
They got Willem Dafoe. They got Nicole Kidman, who I think she was robbed in the Oscars for Batman Forever. You got Nicole Kidman. Dolph Lundgren, I think, is a great friggin' choice. Like, it's great that they're starting to give him like stuff to work with again. Because I mean, pretty much after Universal Soldier, like his career kind of like fell down in the drain for a bit.
Yeah, that's understandable.
I think he's really good casting for that.
Yeah.
It's an overall solid cast. They had really good casting for Black Manta and for the other villains.
Black Manta looks cool.
Oh my god, yeah.
That's off the page, Black Manta. I'm not gonna lie, I was like, yo.
That had to be the most off the page like comic costume I've seen since like the Amazing Spider-Man 2 or and pretty much any of Iron Man's suits. Like they, especially the newer ones for like Infinity War, like the Bleeding Edge armor.
It looks like the most like true translation of like a character's like universe onto film.
And you don't see that often because they make a lot of compromises with costumes, and either they try to make it realistic, like the X-Men movie with the black leather, or
the MCU's big for that because they'll translate stuff. And it's like, oh, that's lit. They're adapting that, but then they'll ground it. And
like Falcon's a good example.
Yeah, Falcon, because
you don't see him dressed up like the way he did in the 70s. And
yeah,
the 80s.
You're not going to do that. There's some stuff that just does not work, and you have to modernize it. But I feel like there's some things like, I mean, a discussion about the MCU and how they dumb down powers and stuff like that. That's a whole discussion in itself. But,
oh, you know what? Speaking of the colors and the casting, we gotta talk about Shazam now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Out of the two, Shazam's like the one I'm just like, I'm there day one. Aquaman, I'm still gonna be there day one. But Shazam's the movie I never thought would get made.
That trailer was really well done.
It was always one of my favorite characters, and I was like, yo. I was like, this is Shazam.
Who better than Chuck Bartowski to play Shazam?
I was like, they got my boy Chuck. Everybody doubted him. I was like, nah. I was like, Chuck got this. I was like, there's not a lot of people who can actually be in the mindset of a 14-year-old and actually bring that charisma to screen.
It's basically Big, but superhero. And
that's
the way they framed the editing.
That's literally how they just started. The director described the movie. He's like, yeah, it's big, but just with superpowers. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, the editing was well done. The visuals again look great, just like for the Aquaman trailer. The one thing I'll never deny from the DC movies as of late is that they've like never really department. It's just the substance piece is lacking.
Yeah, and before we switch on to our next topic, I'll just tack this on because I forgot to put it onto the list. DC officially rebranded their film universe. They got DCEU is never the actual official title. It's just apparently what the internet dubbed it and people ran with it. And they're calling it now Worlds of DC. So
okay, but why?
Well, the guy in charge, Walter Hamada, he's now in charge of like the pretty much the film division of DC Films. Pretty much what he's doing is he wants to make all the DC movies just making good movies. Screw continuity. They're going to play like really loose with continuity. And there's going to be movies that are not going to be in the same continuity.
So it's kind of like what they did back with like the Batman franchise in the 90s.
Yeah, you're going to have. They're basically just making good movies. He said that's all they're focusing on is making good movies.
Part of the night.
And I was like, yeah, that's what I've been. I feel like that's what honestly what a lot of people have been saying.
That
lately,
explains a lot.
Screw continuity is just make a good movie. Stop trying to make things fit together because just because it's working for Marvel doesn't mean it works for everybody. And if you figure it out one day, cool. But to keep yourselves afloat and don't bank rob and actually make people sick of superhero movies.
Right now, it's like round 10 out of 12 for them, and they're on the ropes. Marvel's kicking their ass in the
now 20 movies deep.
And they're not even let's see, like Man of Steel, BVS, Suicide Squad, Justice League. Yeah,
and
they're 4 movies in.
That's pretty much where their continuity is, and then pretty much DC is like, yeah. They just had Joss Whedon just correct that to the point where it's like, yeah, this is the tone we're going for. You don't have to think about this movie ever again.
What's so ironic to me is that I remember let's just dial the clock back to let's just say 4 years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago. The biggest argument between the DC and Marvel fans, which y'all are petty and y'all need to just cool it down now.
True.
It was really dumb to me is that they're saying like, oh well. Marvel may have the better movies, but we have the better TV shows, and it's just I don't know.
You're not talking about the CW shows because we'll have an argument there because that's not gonna.
Well, to be fair, back then, let's just instead of 4, let's say 5-6 years ago, I want to say that's when Young Justice was still around, and you still had
you had Young Justice, Beware the Batman,
the Green Lantern
show, which was one of my favorites, and still a crime that got canceled. The DC streaming service, you have power, bring it back, please.
I think
you brought back one show I care about. You have the power to do this. No one cares about anything else.
Yeah, like my point is like, it's funny how people always used to have that argument about the, we have this better than you guys, this and that. Now it's just Marvel's kind of just taken over completely, because now in 2015 you have Daredevil and all the other Netflix shows kind of just prove like, yeah, hey, guess what? We can do shows and we can do it better than you can. Because like their quality, whether like, okay, Iron Fist and Jessica Jones season 2 or the other half of Luke Cage season 1, please don't shoot me. They all wavered in quality, but at the end of the day, a lot of people prefer that compared to CW schlock. Like Smallville should have like just that whole like
Smallville
trend
should not have lasted 10 years. I'm currently rewatching all of Smallville on season 8 right now.
But even then, like the atmosphere, like the whole soap opera feel,
yeah.
like the show still used that Green Arrow with like the love triangles and like I have not watched that show since season 1, and I've seen like segments of the other seasons, and I know what happens, but
if anybody wants to go back to Smallville, if you're gonna go back and watch it for at least these things. Lex Luthor, number 1, still the best Lex Luthor to date. No one's beaten him yet because Michael Rosenbaum is just great. He also voiced the Flash, and most people don't know in the DCAU.
Which is ironic because Lex Luthor took over Flash's body for an episode.
Which I found hilarious.
I have no idea who this man is.
that was great.
Oh, you know what? Now, this brings us to the next topic, which kind of seems in pretty nice. It's as far as DC's TV shows. Oh, boy. The Titans trailer. I got some words for this.
I forgot we were talking about this because
we had
such a good discussion.
And
then we get to this.
I'm sorry, y'all. If y'all hadn't drank that Dunkin' Donuts coffee I was mentioning, you might want to take a swig now because this is where the podcast kind of gets a little what's the word I'm looking for?
All right, so let me frame this for you guys, at least from my perspective. Okay, so before we actually get to the trailer, let's actually track the news of this show and its incarnation, how we got to this point. So we're gonna go back about a couple years, back to like 2014, 2015, I want to say. TNT was looking to pick up a pilot for the Titans TV show, and it was going to star Dick Grayson. He had just broken off from Batman, and it was going to have Starfire and Raven and Beast Boy. And it was pretty much going to be them pretty much finding themselves. It's going to be pretty much based on the original Teen Titans book that came out back in the 80s, which pretty much everybody goes back to.
Good intentions paved the way to hell.
So I was like, oh, you're basing it on that. I was like, that's great. Because I was like, that's a great starting point. Because that series was pretty dark. Like, Marv Wolfman really like pushed the line when it came to mature storytelling for a group of like kids.
That are like teenagers looking to find like their voice,
Yeah, and I was like, that's great. So they get the script. Jeff Johns is like, oh, we're working on the script. A year goes by. No one hears nothing.
And a couple kilos of cocaine.
Jeff Johns is like, oh, we're still working on the script. 2 months later, after we hear again that the script is like nearing the completion stage, it's written by Akiva Goldsman. And Akiva Goldsman actually worked on, I believe, the Burton Batman films. I believe he was involved in those.
Really? Did he write with Sam Haim or no?
No, I think this is when you get into the
final draft.
I think this is when we're getting to like Forever.
Oh.
Yeah, we're getting to the Forever.
What the hell?
Yeah,
that's such like an inverse, like the most lighthearted to like the.
I think he was also involved in Smallville too.
That's
if
extreme.
I'm not mistaken. I think he was, but I could be mistaken. If somebody does know, put it down in the comments, please, and let me know because I don't necessarily know for sure.
Yeah, we'd appreciate it.
But he also he was working on the script. They both were working on it together, and then TNT just dropped it. And apparently we're just never going to hear about it again. Because they were getting close to the casting stage. Like, they were going to cast people, and they just dropped it.
I took my show to TNT, then I freaked it.
Yeah.
I freaked it.
Then, fast forward, I want to say, like, last year, they're like, hey, Titans just got picked up, and DC's launching their own streaming service. My reaction was, oh, they're launching a streaming service. Oh.
Yeah, my eyebrow kind of raised. Not both, but just one.
Me, I'm like, you have to give me some incentives to want to sign up for that shit. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a minute.
So then they're like, oh.
You're going to hear that phrase a lot.
They're like, oh, Titans, guess what? We're bringing Young Justice back too. I was like, you know what? I was like, I'm on board. I like your direction you're going. They released a picture of Robin's costume. Which
that costume has to be the best Robin costume I've ever seen since Batman Forever. Hate that movie all y'all want, but you know what?
It's the most fun Batman movie. Yeah. I'm sorry.
And that
Nobody
costume,
can tell me it's not.
That costume,
the most fun live action one.
Yeah, that costume.
Don't go finding loopholes. Live action. Go back and find a live action Batman movie that's considered fun. No movies are not fun. They're entertaining. But yeah, pretty much production's going on that. Robin looks great. So we're like, oh yeah. Starfire comes out.
Speaking of Batman Forever, she looked like one of the hookers that Robin was trying to pick up in the low machine.
Yeah. I was like,
Batman, that's Batboy.
Me, I was like, cause I remember I forget the actress's name, but she released a picture. They had a bunch of dots on her face.
Now, I don't think she's a bad casting.
No, she's not. Because she's a good actress. She was on the newest 24 show. It was a continuation of the
the guy who played Dre from the
he played his wife on the show. She was good.
Oh.
I liked her. So I was like, oh, she's gonna be Starfire. I was like, she can do it. And the thing is, with Starfire, it doesn't matter what color she is, because guess what? She's gonna be orange. She's gonna be orange.
Yeah, it really
you can
doesn't
make anyone.
matter.
You can make an Asian person orange. You can make an Indian person orange.
I think facial structure wise, like especially everything, even dating back to like the oldest comics you can find of her, I think she matches like facial structure wise. I can see why they went with her as a casting choice.
Every time she was drawn, it seemed like she was drawn as a different ethnicity, but just colored orange.
Yeah,
like the way her
even like the
face was
'90s when like there was like that like everyone has to be super beautiful and buff and like
muscular,
gorgeous, or like hourglass curve. Her face still pretty much like maintained that like consistency of like what's like the one I'm trying to look for is like you can tell she's just a very foreign like individual. I mean, yeah, she's an alien princess, but like I see why they went with her as a casting choice, and I have no problem with her.
Yeah, I have no problem with the actress, and I was like, oh, they have dots on her face. I was like, oh, they're not gonna have Starfire walking around with black the entire time. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. So their pictures come out, and she's like in the middle of the street, and I'm like, oh,
probably pre-CGI.
I was like, probably pre-CGI,
or maybe she's in disguise or something. I don't know.
And I saw a picture, then I saw a picture of Raven come out. They were making Raven like 12, 13. I'm like, okay, that's fine. I don't really mind Raven being that young, because she is the daughter of Trigon. So I mean, at least she's of an age for like she can start going through that teenage.
Well, then they really can't have her dressing up like how they dress her up.
No. That in the comics, she was like at least like 17, 18. Like she was like an adult.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's fair. So I was like, okay, that's fine. I was like, she got like the purple hair and everything. Like she looked like she's going through like an emo phase. I was like, that's fine.
She looks like a kid you see outside like the mall on a Friday.
I know. I was like, you know what? I was like, even though this stuff's coming out, I was like, it's still written by Jeff Johns. I was like, I feel like he can win me over. And I was like, this is pretty much what we saw. And then the picture of Beast Boy comes out. He has green hair, but his skin's not green.
So, racing to another time.
Yeah, he essentially looks like Trip from Time Force. If you ever watched Time Force, it's one of the best Power Rangers series. But yeah, I was highly confused. But I was like, you know what? I was like, might be another CGI issue.
So now that we wind the clocks back and forth,
and we get
to the present, San Diego Comic-Con this year, trailer is dropped at this point, and I gotta talk from my perspective now. I see the notifications pop up, and I'm like, oh, okay, wow. Like I see a thumbnail of Robin in the costume. I'm like, oh, let's take a gander. I didn't have the volume on yet, and I see like the fight choreography, and I stopped, and I was like, whoa, what is this? So I rewinded all the way back, and I gotta say, first things first. I don't mean like I'm not trying to sound like I'm like this editing guru, because I'm most certainly not. But my God, that was amateurish. Like you could have gotten to like a 12-year-old, get all the clips together, and I really feel like they could have put something together better than whoever did that. But that's not even my biggest gripe. My biggest gripe with this entire freaking thing is that they pretty much have Robin slashing throats, gunning people down like it's Batman 89 all over again. And the guy goes like, where's Batman? Or is it Batman? And he looks with all this gall and audacity. And I can feel the actor's pain as he has to say these lines. Fuck Batman. Like every conception or misconception that the audiences have felt towards the DC universe and their movies has been confirmed with just that one line where the camera zooms in on his face like it was like a really cheesy 70s exploitation movie. Those two words doomed this entire show. Now, I will be amazed if it's like a Daredevil season 1 kind of show and it just blows our minds. They should pray for that, because what I'm looking at right now, it's going to be a complete hot train wreck.
The funniest thing about this, when it came out, the backlash was so, it was so bad. To the point where Jeff Johns came out and was like, don't worry, guys, there's going to be humor in this. And I'm like, you shouldn't, okay, if you're saying there's humor in it, why would you cut the trailer if this is the single tone you're going with? It's cut as if this is the entire show. There's nothing else. And if that's so, if that is what you're going for, you can't backtrack on that now because people are like,
he's backpedaling. Here's my biggest thing right now.
Because he, I'm not gonna lie, he was in charge of DC movies. He got removed from that. He's also involved in Green Lantern. That backfired in his face. I'm not gonna lie, he's trying to do. I get him. And the thing is, he's done a lot of great stuff when it comes to writing, but I feel that the current direction of the show, from what the trailer is presenting me, and it might be unintentional, but I feel like they had to make sure, because this is a streaming service. They're bringing on they have like a bunch of other stuff on there. It's gonna be kid friendly, like Batman anime series, like stuff like that. They're uploading old shows on there. We'll get to that later in the show, and we'll talk about what they're offering. But I feel like this trailer was a statement saying, do not let your kids watch this. And I get, like, if this is being based on, like, the more, like, adult stories of, like, the Teen Titans, like, the new Teen Titans written by Marv Wolf. If anybody hasn't read those, please go back and read those. They're great. But if it's being based off that, this does not, you don't sell it on fuck Batman. You don't sell it on Robin stepping on somebody's neck and hearing it break. And I'm sorry.
That's my biggest complaint.
This movie,
I didn't get to finish saying that.
Visually, this looks so just
jarring,
fan filmy.
It really did.
The thing is, with the Netflix shows, they looked like TV shows.
And even then,
the
like,
first Daredevil
it had
trailer,
an atmosphere.
Yeah, it looked like it lived and breathed.
Hell's Kitchen felt real. That's my biggest thing with this, is that,
and it had this like Smallville like teen poppy music.
Yeah.
Keep screaming the
word.
Like
the way that, like, Robin's like someone who's like helping Raven, like the interrogation room, that he works for the police like now. And I get that Dick Grayson has to like work and like make his own money, but he found different ways other than working for the police. But they just pull like a complete Barry Allen on that, which I'm not even gonna talk about the Flash right now. But what I'm trying to say is that the entire tone, the mood, the atmosphere, the message, everything about Teen Titans in this trailer. Again, the show hasn't come out. I don't want to eat crow. But none of that was represented at all.
What's represented right now looks like the most unappealing thing that anyone can possibly.
Absolutely, and it's just, my biggest thing is that the show, for like the original Teen Titans show, I know like people who grew up with it, you know, like everyone who adored that show and what it was about, the style, like the animation, the plot lines, everyone adored that show so much, so they have like those high expectations, and whether they read the comics or not. It's like, it's such a complete slap in the face to these people. I see why they're angry and there's such a backlash, because pretty much all of that's just been thrown out the window for yet another typical overly gritty, pretentious like reboot that knows nothing about or respects nothing about the like original source material. Like, again, like the original comics of Teen Titans was always about these young superheroes who don't want to be sidekicks. They want to be their own individuals who are finding their own identities. They come from their own stories, their own backgrounds, and they come together and they basically form their own family. They learn from each other. They grow with each other. They win. They lose together. And that's what always made their stories just so intriguing and just so heartfelt to a lot of people. And then you have shows like Young Justice that just further solidified why those younger superhero stories are just so important, you know, compared to Justice League. And then you have a show like this, where Robin, like you just said, stepped on a man's neck like he's Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon, slicing up dudes with a batarang. Or I'm sorry, the Robin star, whatever he calls it, and shooting people down like he's Michael freaking Keaton, saying, fuck Batman. Like, I'm trying to, like, wrap my mind around this, and I'm still really numb from that. I couldn't watch the rest of the trailer.
one of the other things that bothered me about the trailer, you have Hawk and Dove in there.
That was really weird too.
Now, I like Hawk and Dove, but here's what pissed me off about Hawk and Dove. Hawk is the violent one. He is rage. Dove is the opposite. Why is she clawing people in the face and being as violent as him? She's literally supposed to be the part that balances him out. This literally is just like yin and yang. Why is she the violent one? That makes no sense. Because I saw her claw somebody in the face. I'm like, what is this madness?
Yeah, she's like Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman. Like, sweet Jesus.
I was so confused because it was all darkly lit too. Like their costumes look like they look bright, but it's like it's so dark in that scene.
It's like too muted, like the actual movies.
I was like, what is? I don't understand what's going on.
We could talk trash on this all day, but our overall consensus is that we're not happy with it. But again, we just gotta sit back and just watch this train wreck happen, or it may actually save itself, and maybe because
the trailer might be a horrible misrepresentation. Whoever edited it,
we've seen that. We've seen that in a lot of cases before. A lot of movies or TV shows, when you see the trailer, it seems either very typical or it just seems very amateurish and looks very undone. But maybe it's just before like that certain cycle where like the editing hasn't been fully completed for like either the special effects or just anything else through post production. I don't know. I'm trying to maintain like a balance.
Yeah, but this streaming service launches in October.
It's not giving us a lot of confidence.
We just got this trailer in July. What they've shown us a lot of stuff that looks finished. This show majority of it must be pretty darn finished because the show launches in the fall. And if it looks like this now, there's really not much they can do to it to make it look any different.
Yeah.
It's a TV show budget. I want to know what the budget for this is. I am so curious.
Actually, why don't I look that up?
I don't know if it's been made public what this budget is, but it looks like they spent all the money on Robin's costume and Hawk and Doves, and they just said screw everything
Which, again, silver lining, that Robin costume, that looks probably like the best one, like I said, since forever.
The costume designer that designed Iron Man in the first Iron Man movie was involved in the suit, so I'm not surprised it turned out looking the way it did. But yeah, it had a lot of amateur editing. My thing is, if you spent that much money on costumes, you picked the two most CGI heavy characters to put on your show. Starfire is a CGI heavy character. Beast Boy is the most heavy one. He's shape-shifting consistently from one thing to the next.
I'm trying to find it, but I'm not seeing it right now. But we will find out when they release the actual numbers. But speaking of the streaming service in October, let's take the bad taste of Titans out of our mouths and actually get into something that's going to make us feel a bit better about this conversation. Young Justice Season 3, I never thought I would live to see it.
I'm not going to lie, they kept telling us it was coming. I'm like, man, I'm waiting, man. Like, Greg Wiseman, I'm waiting, bro. Like, I'm waiting for the show.
Like, the voice actors posting stuff, like, saying that everything's going well so far.
Like, I remember...
you still my beating heart.
I remember the day that I found out this was getting canceled. It was a Friday, and I remember I had just gotten home from school. And
you and I were together, weren't we?
I looked on Facebook, and they were like, oh, guess what? Tomorrow is the season finale. Is the series finale for Young Justice. And I was like, are you serious?
And the way they left it off, man.
I'm not going to lie. Salty. I did kick my chair over because Young Justice Season 2, during that was the last wave of Saturday morning cartoons, believe it or not. Because DC had their, I forget what they used to call it. It's like their DC
Power Hours, and
DC Coin or something. I forget what it was called. But that was when Teen Titans Go were shorts before it actually got greenlit into a series.
And they had Green Lantern on.
They had Green Lantern that had ended the weekend before, and they had Beware the
Bat. I think they had reruns of Brave and the Bold, I think, too, right?
That was when they were doing it on Fridays before they switched to Saturdays.
Okay.
I remember they had Beware the Batman never finished its run. It aired the remaining episodes on Toonami at 4 o'clock in the mornings. I remember Toonami aired Beware the Batman and Thundercats. I remember Thundercats got canceled around the same time.
That was such a good one.
And I was so sad.
But
all my favorite shows got canceled.
They kept putting everything at such an unreasonable time slot. It's like they wanted the shows to get canceled.
Kids didn't watch Saturday morning cartoons anymore. I was still living in a reality that didn't exist anymore, sadly. Kids just didn't watch cartoons on Saturdays.
I would have to wake up at, 6 o'clock, 6:30 they would have, Season 2 on for Young Justice on TV?
Season 2 aired 10 a.m. Because I remember it was 10 a.m. was Green Lantern, Young
Didn't
Justice.
They turn it on earlier?
No, because I remember the DC block started like 10 and it lasted
I
until
don't know what
like
the hell I'm thinking
it
about.
ended
Then
at
I don't know
like
why I was thinking
12.
6.
6 a.m. I think they were airing like reruns of like some like old shows from like Boomerang.
I was gonna say because like, they just weren't helping themselves with the time slot and just like
That and
they were only worried about the toys.
yeah, they relied on toy sales. But I'm sorry, Young Justice was a mature animated
It's
show.
not about the toys for a
It
show
wasn't because
the toys weren't anything to talk about.
more adults watched that show than really anybody. No kid, like none of the kids seemed like from like elementary schools were watching it. They had the toys, but they didn't really latch on to like the mature storytelling that everyone else did who was an adult.
And how could they? It's not like the Teen Titans show where it had like that very unique animation where like Japanese anime where it's very cartoony and like had like a lot of humor infused into it, but had a good balance of drama. Trip. I mean, there was obviously humor in Young Justice, but like it had a very mature, serious.
It had a very adult.
It took itself
sense
serious
of humor, not like adult and like.
Oh, they had some jokes that slid by.
No, they had some jokes that slid by. When it came to like the humor, it wasn't so like in your face, like how Beast Boys humor was in your face, like for the kids.
Yeah.
But this was like you had like Kid Flash will always make the humor, but he'd make like sexual innuendo jokes.
Same with Artemis before.
And Artemis would make those jokes, and then Robin would always make jokes about being whelmed. Like it was a lot of like situational jokes.
Yeah, and Red Arrow and Cheshire had like a freaking kid in season 2.
They had like there's like a lot of like banter back and forth where it was like it was funny. But it was something you would expect to see in a movie or read in the comic book.
Young Justice, if you told me that like they probably could have made that fit into the DC animated universe. That's how well the balance was done with that.
They did so much world building within like the first episode
it
pilot.
Felt so real.
Just, like it felt like all this exists already. You're just thrown into it. But getting right into the trailer, we go into and we pretty much recap season 2.
Yeah.
And then we jump right into pretty much we're heading right into the metahuman trafficking ring. Which I'm not gonna lie, I feel like they're gonna get into a lot of mature themes. That I'm not gonna lie, because they said even like there's a lot of mature stuff that like Cartoon Network wouldn't let them touch on, and pretty much they said they're gonna go. And the thing is, with Greg Weisman and this team, everybody thinks like they're gonna jump to like the whole cursing and like just going straight on like adult stuff. I
hope not.
No, the thing is like Greg Weisman and those guys, they're mature writers in the sense that they can get adult without having to consistently.
A lot like the animated series or like.
You don't have to like throw in curse words and stuff like that to be mature.
If they did it like Incredibles 2, where you would hear like a damn or like oh my god, or I think they said what the hell at one point, right?
I'm not gonna lie.
That shook me, but I was like,
people kept saying that there was cursing too. I'm not gonna lie. I overlooked
that shook me.
I overlooked it because I was like, I was like, really? I was like, I have to go back and watch it because I was like, I think I must have missed it. I was just so into the movie. I was like, I get to see this movie again. I just didn't pay attention to it.
Like the trailer overall, I thought was like really good, and like you have to remind the audience. I don't mind because people were complaining. Oh well, it's just all about season 2. Like it only shows like a few minutes of season 3. I'm like, well, I mean, duh. Like this show hasn't been out for how many years?
People do realize that it takes months upon months to animate one episode.
Oh, that like the animation was so intricate in the fight scenes. Like when you watch like just one peculiar fight scene, like the one with the one I'll always be blown away by, despite how like minuscule like the scale of the fight was the fight with Red Arrow and Sportsmaster in the episode.
That was fucking hilarious.
It was one of the later ones. One where he socks him across the face, the way he dipped the punch. Like the movements were so real and real martial arts were infused in that it was very believable and very intense. The action scenes, don't get me started. We'll be here all night. Like they were phenomenal. The animation was so fluid because I think it was Korean animators. Worked on that.
They would send the storyboards to Korea and it would take months for them to get animated.
That's no joke.
And you can tell, like, in this trailer, like, when it cuts to, like, Superboy punching Lobo, you can tell, like, the actual punch.
Oh, yeah.
You can tell the actual punch, like, sound.
Which, Lobo looked fantastic, by the way.
Lobo always looks great, but I like his, like, new, like, point.
Yeah.
Ironically, looks like the hairdo to Rob Edwards, which I thought was freaking hilarious.
Hey, Rob, if you're listening to this, here's your shout-out, homie.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Lobo copied your look. It's fire look.
The main man. We gotta call Rob the main man from now on.
Yo, but like, you can tell when he was throwing the punches, like you hear like the actual punch sounds weren't the exact same the ones they used in the show. I can tell they just put this trailer together, and not a lot of the like sounds and editing was completely done. But they just they wanted to give people something to look at. What they showed, they got a majority of this done. And this is going to be a 26 episode season. They said all the episodes are going to drop at once.
It's not like the other things like the trailers we just mentioned were like The editing was very choppy, and the sound design was very off, and looked like just didn't fit together.
And the
It
thing
wasn't
is,
a bad trailer.
and
I
the
liked
thing
it.
is, it's like they've given us so much good. I feel like they don't have to give us anything too complete. They just want to show people, hey, guess what? This is true. There's footage. It's happening, and we're going to the new gods. We got Orion. And we have all these.
And where they left off with like Darkseid
and we're having
Savage,
Spoiler and Static Shock and Metamorpho. And Nightwing seems like he's going underground to the metahuman trafficking ring. It looks like it's called Young Justice and the Outsiders.
I wonder if they're gonna bring back Red Arrow and all that, because I feel like his story, like
Red
even though
Arrow,
they kind of tied it off, I feel like they could have given him more to do.
Red Arrow, I think, will come back because they chose the title The Outsiders, and there was a book called Batman and the Outsiders. Nightwing actually had a team called the Outsiders, but he had that team pretty much because
I remember them.
Because at the end of season 2, Nightwing leaves the team because of all the emotional attachments, and since while he got killed off at the end of season 2, it would make sense for him to start the Outsiders team, because with the Outsiders he doesn't have too much of a emotional attachment to these team members, and that way he can diligently bring them out on missions, and that way he's more like detached from them. He's not.
There's a lot of problems in season 2 as well with like maturity between like the younger recruits with like the new Robin, Tim Drake. You also had the whole issue with Blue Beetle and how like he basically he didn't mean it, but obviously he betrayed everybody. I'm totally forgetting his name right now. I could not stand him. He dated Miss Martian. Lagoon, thank you, Lagoon Boy. I could not stand him.
Neptune's beard.
Oh, just don't say that. I'm about to grab my trash can.
I will say Aqualad playing as the villain. My boy didn't play around. And yeah. I loved how he was so deep undercover that even while he started questioning, like, okay, yeah, we sent him in there, but it actually is his father. So it's like we don't know how much of this Aqualad's actually buying, if he's going to see it through to the end. There was a lot of like questioning, and Nightwing did a lot of questionable things, and you can honestly see like how much like Batman's influence is on him. Like Nightwing makes the same questionable decisions that Batman does, and I'm not gonna see Batman making the same decisions, at least that Nightwing has. But I feel like Batman would have went a little bit further. But it just shows how much of that like parenting really went into.
Despite their lack of scenes, they did do that pretty well in the first season, especially with like his conversation with Wonder Woman, where he pretty much says outright, which has always been their dynamic in the comics and the films, is I don't want him to end out like me.
And the sad thing is, it's like he's already partially starting to end up like that.
Well, in the trailer for Teen Titans, he did.
Yeah. Let's not talk about that anymore.
Now that we're pretty much like consensus-wise, we are absolutely, our hype is through the freaking roof.
I will say I will say for the DC streaming service, I will be paying for it just because the creators of the show said if we want to see more of this show,
we got
subscribe to the streaming service to watch the show. The more people that subscribe, the more people that give it views, the more seasons we'll get of Young Justice. Pretty much, you want more Young Justice, you want more of these animated shows, subscribe to DC streaming universe, with at least the streaming platform, is basically what they're saying if you want to see more of this content, because clearly this goes on TV, it's going to get canceled again. No one wants that.
Well, that and cable's just so unreliable these days. Streaming has
TV
become
anymore.
The way of like the future now, and cable's going the way of the dodo.
Yeah, no one really watches TV.
No one wants to pay for it.
I don't watch TV when I go home. I watch Hulu when I go home, or Netflix.
But with Hulu's a great example of this. I saw Spider-Man the animated series and X-Men the animated series. I got to watch an episode or two, and then the next day I want to watch it. It says the content's not available. And I'm like, well, why? And I look up, now they're doing it like cable packages, where now you have to already pay. If you're already doing like $9.99 or more, if you don't want commercials, you have to pay more onto your plan, like an extra $5 or $10, or I've even seen more like for like $20 or $30, I think. I have to look at the packages again. But like they're treating it like it's HBO or like prime time and all that. Like I felt so offended by that, but this is how the future is like pretty much turning out with like cable services and like streaming.
Yeah, and now Disney's in their own streaming service, and if you want to watch any of like the Marvel cartoons, you're gonna have to subscribe to the streaming service, which is its own other thing.
And God knows how petty this is going to get. Probably not as petty as the movies are going right now, but I don't know. Speaking of the movies, Joaquin Phoenix, the new Joker film.
I will say when they were announcing a Joker film, my reaction was, who cares? I'm not gonna lie, that was my. I was like, well, do we really need a movie? Because the Joker's origin, no one really knows. That's one of the most fascinating things about the Joker, because he changes it every 2 seconds. Yeah, the Killing Joke was like the first like depiction of his origin that we ever got, where we saw like beginning, middle, end, and if we get to now. But we don't know the validity of all of it.
Well, they had my attention once they announced that Joaquin Phoenix was going to be casted for Joker, because I've said it for years. I always wanted him to be the Joker. I don't know why we got Jared Leto of all people. Again, actually, even before Joaquin Phoenix, I always wanted Willem Dafoe. And I think
everybody wanted
he was actually pretty close to being cast in the '89 film. I think he was a close contender, but they obviously wanted Jack Nicholson for star power. Which, don't get me wrong, I love Jack Nicholson as Joker.
Which was a smart financial move, because that movie was not a surefire thing.
Oh yeah, no, especially with Jack Nicholson saved that. But Joaquin Phoenix is such a phenomenal casting choice for that, because he's got the facial like structure for it. That sounds like a weird thing to keep bringing up, but like compare it to the comic book to like reality. Not only does his personality a lot like Jack Nicholson in his casting, like because of The Shining, Joaquin Phoenix just like he's played a lot of roles where he's very unnerving and unsettling and detached. I think he's phenomenal for that role. And it's kind of weird because he's a lot older than Jared Leto, I think. I have to look that up now, because I know that
he is. I think
he's got to be a lot older.
I think Phoenix is pushing like 50, or at least
he could
at least
very
he's
well
in his
be.
mid 40s.
You know what? Yeah, he could be in his mid 40s. Yeah, he's 43 right now. So yeah, he's 43.
Oh, okay. He's younger than I thought he was.
Actually, I think Jared Leto may be around the same age. I gotta look that up now. But actually, you want to know something really freaking hilarious? Jared Leto is 3 years older. Wow, I feel very uneducated right now.
That's crazy.
But that is kind of weird, though. I mean, like you said earlier, the continuity is not really going to matter.
Yeah, this is going to be a standalone film.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be like, from what they've talked about, it's going to be like more of like a like a crime noir type thing. And
Devil's Advocate, though, what if they're just saying that so they can soft reboot without saying they're soft rebooting? I feel that would be funny as all hell.
I feel like the best reason that they're playing fast and loose with this continuity thing is they can start production on a movie, and they'll start it as if it's its own original thing. And if they think it can work in the continuity and they like what they're getting so far, that like when they do like their test screens, then they'll be like, oh yeah, we can just easily say this is going to be in its own thing. But they actually confirmed Robert De Niro is actually in talks to be Rupert Thorne, from what I heard.
Wow, Rupert freaking Thorne?
And I'm like,
I saw he was casted, but they didn't say what for.
It's been rumored Rupert Thorne, because they said it's going to be like a crime boss that hasn't been in a movie before.
I'm glad they haven't done Falcone, because like that's
Falcone's already been done in the Nolan one, and he's been done in everything since.
Yeah, I'm glad they're going with not with Falcone, but with Rupert Thorne, because not only was he a big staple of the Batman animated series, but like even in the comics, he was always like a pillar of the mob community for like the underworld.
I'm hoping that the movie's good, because it sounds like literally somebody's gonna be telling an actual story.
But wait, my question is this: is that are they gonna pull a Venom and not like not have Batman in it, like they're gonna do with Spider-Man?
That's the thing. I don't know if Batman's in this or not. And if it's a Joker origin,
is that why they've been throwing out casting rumors about finding a younger Batman?
We'll get to that news. We'll get to that, because there's a whole thing about the Batman casting.
Yeah, because if they do it like a noir, they could probably try to blend it out of like year one and mix it with the background story of the Killing Joke, or maybe just really infer to that and just really just genuinely make it Joker's story.
Potentially.
Maybe they might make it separate stories where they say like this is Joker's story and this is Batman's story. They can make like an offhand reference like Batman maybe like dropping him in the vat of chemicals.
I think
well, technically he fell into the vat of chemicals. Like different continuities say that Batman did it, but Joker like 8 out of 10 times did it to himself. Or whoever he was before that.
Because I know they're calling they're rebranded their whole universe worlds of DC. And we'll get to that, and we'll talk about like the potential of either it's gonna be a really good thing or it's gonna be a really bad thing.
Yeah.
But from what worlds, pretty much this sounds like it's gonna be one of their Elseworlds thing, where it's kind of these are kind of like graphic novel movies,
like anthologies.
where it's gonna have a beginning, middle, end. It's not gonna be tied to anything. This way, it gives directors more creative freedom. Because unlike the Marvel movies, where all the directors are stuck in this continuity, and you know all the films are gonna start looking the same. Like
it starts to burden you, like the X-Men anime, like the X-Men franchise had that a lot, where Days of Future Past tried its best to like clean that mess up of like continuity. They're gonna free themselves of a lot of those problems,
and it actually gives directors like creative freedom to actually do a superhero movie in their interpretation. But with fan backlash, especially when it comes to like The Last Jedi and stuff like that, and we're not going to talk about The Last Jedi because everybody has different opinions about that. We saw how toxic the fan base can be and how you can attack people.
Oh, we're not even going to go over that.
Oh, that's not my character. You ruined this character, yada, yada, yada. But that's just an example of what the world of DC is offering directors to have creative freedom and take something but still be true to the essence of what they're adapting, but put their own unique spin on it and give the movie their own flair, their own style, not be burnt bogged down by the style of Zack Snyder.
Speaking of directors, and actually Zack Snyder,
you
beat me to that. I was gonna say, speaking of directors and backlash and their visions, you just told me that the Snyder Cut is confirmed to not exist.
Yeah, the Snyder Cut, for everybody, all of the fans of the Zack Snyder and the whole thing with him leaving Justice League and that whole thing, because a lot of it is really fucky and it's honestly a really sad situation. But he left the project.
It's a genuine shame.
They brought Joss Whedon in to finish the film, rewrite some things because pretty much they weren't liking the direction that they were going in. And pretty much, Snyder did pretty much what they asked him to do, but they turned out they didn't like it. They threw him under the bus, and they brought Joss Whedon in. Joss Whedon did the best he could, and we pretty much got
It's amazing he even came in because he was really bitter from Age of Ultron.
Yeah, pretty much he did like working under like the Marvel mandate, because honestly, having to do the first Avengers movie was an undertaking in itself.
Ooh, yeah. And how he pulled that off is a miracle.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. People keep forgetting that he's the guy that pretty much made it possible, saying this can work. You can bring all these characters together and you can make a solid movie. Age of Ultron is still one of my favorite superhero movies of all time, regardless of what people's feelings are on it and the whole Black Widow thing. I know people still have their opinions about that. But the Snyder Cut is confirmed to not exist. WB executives have come out and stated that it just does not exist. It doesn't exist at all.
Which I'm glad, because there's so much well, if Zack Snyder's cut was released... No, there was never such a thing.
Henry Cavill came out and saying that even if the Snyder Cut came out, it wouldn't fix anything. You want to know why it wouldn't fix anything? Because look at the direction movies are going. Aquaman looks like a straight-up swashbuckling comic book, like literally verbatim, page by page. They just slapped it on the screen, just said, we're adapting this. It doesn't fit in the tone of what Snyder was doing.
Right.
And even if you were to release it, it's pretty much honestly a what-if scenario.
Yeah.
It's really a what-if. Same thing with Shazam. Shazam was actually made to be outside of continuity with the DC films, but it's actually now been confirmed it's actually been worked in. So now that and Aquaman are going to be existing in the same thing. So
it's basically trying to do damage control because of Justice League. Both of these movies.
Honestly, Justice League was the biggest damage control, because they took a movie that honestly, in the direction it was going, didn't make any sense, and they tried to make it at least what Joss Whedon tried to do without reshooting the entire thing, which a lot of people were convinced he reshot that entire movie. I know he reshot a lot of segments of the movie.
There are certain lines too,
and there's a lot the Superman Rebirth sequence. Apparently, from what I've heard, happened earlier on in the film than what we actually saw.
Wow!
So a lot of that movie was just like sliced and moved around. But that's just from what I've heard. I don't know any validity to that. But if that's true, then that movie was more of a train wreck than I thought. And honestly, if the Snyder Cut if it were to surface or come out, what does it matter? And
it's not like the Batman Forever, don't mean to keep bringing it up, but like the Red Book edition that people have been begging for.
Because that movie is literally what it cut out such the substance,
important details.
honestly, just literally there's like so much of that movie missing, and there's like
That's not the same case with Justice League.
no Justice League. This is literally a movie that was not going to work to
Yeah.
begin with, and it
had no foundation.
They tried to salvage it, and they released. Honestly, you could tell the CGI a lot of it wasn't done. They rushed it out because executives wanted to keep their money.
Steppenwolf CGI was awful.
They rushed it. They rushed the film out because the executives wanted to keep their paychecks because of the AT&T merger. And they didn't know if they were going to be there the following year, so they said they have to rush this movie out so they can get their bonuses. So it's partially because of them, the movie could have actually looked a bit cleaner, but it still wouldn't have helped the movie just being bland and forgettable, which honestly it is.
Now, with that out of the way, we got done trashing CW series, and oh boy, when will they learn?
Okay.
Batwoman.
Okay, so yeah, they're doing a Batwoman series. They're trying to get it to go straight to series. Now, the reason doing the Batwoman show is the newest crossover. For those of you who don't know, because they do the annual crossover of all 4 TV shows.
Yeah.
The crossover is actually going to be introducing Gotham City. It's going to be introducing Batwoman. Okay, so I'm going to mini rant here, and I'm going to explain why this does not work and why this pisses me off to no end. But let's start at the beginning. Let's go all the way back to Arrow started in 2012.
Oh, God.
Not wrong. Started in 2012.
Don't remind me.
So, it's pretty much what I was convinced was the Batman wannabe show. Now, say what you will about Smallville. Its Green Arrow was Green Arrow. That was Green Arrow straight off the page. Like, it's the best interpretation of Green Arrow we've ever gotten. Justin Hartley did an amazing job. I wish he had gotten a spin-off show, like, doing his own original thing. But we didn't. We ended up getting the rebooted one. They said it was going to be, like, a realistic, in the vein of Batman Begins. So I'm like, okay, it might actually be good. I was like, because I was excited because it was going to be the next superhero show. The problem with Arrow is it's Batman in a hood. It's not Oliver Queen. He's not the same character as in the book, which technically doesn't have to be, but the fact that you made him pretty much Batman all over again with a hood is problematic. You even gave him the Bat family. He has Mr. Terrific and 2 Black Canaries running around in that show for some reason. I know why, but to explain it, it's too convoluted because I don't even think they really understand what they've gotten themselves into. You have Wild Dog, you have Diggle, who goes by Spartan now for some reason, and there's a whole Battle of the Cowl thing for Diggle wouldn't be Green Arrow. That was kind of stupid.
Oh, I wonder what that reminds me of.
Yeah, I was like, oh, gee, this is pretty much Batman. And now you're trying to tell me the Batmans existed? Oh, and they name dropped Bruce Wayne. I want to say last season of Arrow.
And then the whole Ra's al Ghul situation, which
yeah, I was
the situation.
And they had Nissa Al Ghul for the longest time.
Yeah.
Then they were like, oh, Talia's been here too. That's bull.
Mm-hmm.
And like on Supergirl, see, it works better if this is on Supergirl's Earth because Supergirl's Earth is confirmed to at least be Batman on that universe along with Superman. So if she exists on that Earth, we just have another CW DC show is existing in the same universe as Supergirl. That's work that makes more sense. But to say that Gotham City and Bruce Wayne and these people exist when you already have Arrow is pretty much a Batman wannabe. It honestly undercuts either Batman's story, depending on who comes first, undercuts either Batman or Green Arrow. If Batman came first, and Green Arrow comes second, it undercuts Green Arrow stories and just makes him look like a ripoff, and that makes his origin not
and
special.
Why did they even start him off as like a beginner for like that kind of franchise? That was such a bizarre choice to make a hard and edgy show about a man who, originally, in his best day, dresses up like Robin Hood and has a completely different like persona and way to go about things and his own different tone in the comics compared to the freaking Batman.
And my thing is, like,
he's had serious
back
stories,
in the day, Green Arrow was a ripoff of Batman. They're both billionaires. Green Arrow just got marooned on an island, trained himself to use a bow, and actually promised himself that when he got back to land, he would make himself a better person. He would try and do better. And he was a Robin Hood type character. He would steal from the rich and essentially get to the poor. He was a liberal.
He even had his own ward.
Yeah, he had Speedy,
who ended up getting the speed.
Yeah. And yeah, so I don't understand why they're doing this. And my thing is, the CW writers, they're doing Batwoman because they want more diversity. And here's I don't want to go on a whole rant about diversity and how comics don't seem to understand how to do diversity properly. There's nothing wrong doing diversity in comics. There's nothing wrong with having LGBT characters. There's nothing wrong with that at all. It's just how to do it properly and how to do it when it doesn't seem like it's pandering. Legends of Tomorrow. I'm not trying to stay on this too long, but I have to say my pace on this. The White Canary character, she's bisexual. She was with Oliver Queen, then she hooked up with a bunch of other female characters, because I'm not gonna lie, she leaps from one character to the next. I understand that's her character, but literally every time they do it, what it screams to me is how they write it is, hey, I'm a lesbian. Hey, I'm a lesbian. I slept with this female character. I slept with this character. I don't see her get with many dudes as much as she gets with girls. I don't know if girls are her preference. She doesn't talk about it much. The show doesn't talk about it much. I don't know really what her true sexual preference is. Is she really bisexual, or has she just been attracted to more females lately?
And why should it even matter? Because
yeah,
like,
it
doesn't make you a more interesting character.
It really doesn't.
Is that what really defines?
I feel like that's what the crux of her character is. From what I've been perceiving, it is they're more interested in who they're gonna hook her up with, and I feel like
that's CW.
I promise you, I will put $100 down on this. As soon as this crossover airs, she's gonna hook up with Batwoman, and I'm gonna be really pissed off.
Okay, so we started a piece on that. Oh man, now we got to a pretty spicy topic, but I feel like it's kind of calmed down now a bit since its release.
It's kind of calmed down, and a little bit, but not as much. I feel like
it's not as tense.
I feel like Hollywood has not said their final piece on this.
It's not concluded yet. The saga's still going to go on.
No, it's still going to go on.
Sorry, context. James Gunn being fired from the MCU.
The crazy thing about this, Disney was honestly, they were bold for this because they fired one of the main architects of the MCU, because James Gunn was in charge of the cosmic side of the MCU.
And he brought back like pretty much like one of the most obscure franchises of the Marvel comics, let alone just comic book history in general, for either like distributor of DC, Valiant, Marvel, doesn't matter. He brought them into the spotlight and made them household freaking names.
So to give you guys more like just context on pretty much the whole situation of how he got fired. So James Gunn made some tweets about 9 years ago, almost 10 years ago. So it's almost a decade old worth of tweets. And
oh boy.
And so I can't believe I just said almost a decade old of tweets. Twitter's been around for almost 10 years. That's crazy. But yeah, he has some tweets. Apparently, some Fox News anchor, somebody on like the right wing side of the political spectrum dug these tweets up and pretty much went to Disney and said, "Hey, you're pretty much employing a guy that has these views," and he made tweets about pedophilia and like a bunch of other stuff that would honestly, I read some of the tweets. I'm not gonna lie, I was like,
it was just edgy shit posting.
Honestly, it was.
I mean, should it have been done when you're like a professional director in a Hollywood or independent filmmaking scene?
And my thing is, I feel like he was the type of director at the time didn't necessarily know like he was ever gonna get like to work with at least on a franchise Marvel. This big and be a household name like
his
James
biggest film
Gunn.
At that point was like Slither in 2006, and I mean I have to look at his filmography.
He made that movie Super.
Wow, that was a really that explains so much.
Yeah, you know the one scene in the movie. Yeah, literally, and Disney hired that guy, and they're surprised that he tweeted the things that he tweeted. That's what I don't understand. Is that they fired him for those tweets. And my thing is, the biggest thing that pisses me off is the fact that we can go back and look at somebody's tweets and decide whether, actually, just to say that they're guilty. Like Twitter, honestly, when you tweet something, that's how you feel forever. That is what we're essentially saying, that if somebody tweets like a joke about pedophilia or something like that, and it's like questionable, it's kind of like very dark, like very like black comedy. It's like, that's messed up that you joked about that. But we live in a society where like a lot of people make jokes like that. We say it. We say stuff like that. We know people to say questionable shit like that.
Yeah.
We've said questionable shit. Not like no.
I haven't. My record's very
No,
clean.
I've never said anything about pedophilia, joked anything about that. But we've said questionable things, especially about like racism, stuff like that. We're not actually gonna say any jokes that we've had because for obvious reasons. But we admit everyone's joked about that. Everyone I talked to has at least said, "Yeah, I've said jokes about that," but no one puts them on Twitter.
It's different. Is that the reason why? Even if it was on Twitter or not, because on the realms of social media, you have like shit posting groups, and you want to talk about the spiciest, darkest, most messed up grindhouse of a corner of the earth that realm is. Oh boy, you're not ready. And that's what like that kind of mentality that James Gunn had with those kind of posts. And I mean, from what I've seen, he does seem like a really nice guy, and everyone around him says nothing but great things about him. But he like obviously didn't have the foresight to consider that one, his career would take off and someone will come across that, because social media has been used as a weapon now to cast out people for either righteous reasons or for not so righteous reasons.
It's destroyed careers.
It's destroyed careers, absolutely. And now we're in this entire tense landscape that like this started, I want to say 2 years ago is where this whole crusade has started. I don't even think crusade's the right word. I think witch hunt.
I'm about to say this.
Good and bad things have happened.
This isn't even like
Bryan Singer and like the whole X-Men Apocalypse thing, where like that one person accused him of like so there was like sexual assault and like pedophilia. I don't remember if that was confirmed, like because I remember they said something about him filming the original X-Men in a completely different state than where the person.
I think the suit was still ongoing, but
I don't know what the.
I know
I'm not going to say anything I don't know anything about.
I know his work. I know his work ethic declined. I know Fox had fired him from a movie. I forget which movie it was. It was a big movie that another director had to come in and finish, but they kicked him off the lot because he kept coming in late and wasn't actually like completing stuff on time. So they just fired him and replaced him. So and I know I think it's like Bad Hat Harry was his studio.
I don't remember.
I forget what it's called, but
but on the topic though is that ever since those accusations came out, it's not like what Joker said. Like everybody's terrified. Like what he says in The Dark Knight, that big mob boss meeting, how everyone's afraid to go out at night. It's kind of the same thing with like social media. You got to be careful because now like the Me Too movement's been happening. Actors and actresses on both sides of the gender spectrum have been like revealing like these really messed up tales and like these situations, these terrible things and these tragedies that have happened to them. And now it's such a tense landscape, and like you just don't know who's gonna get it next. Either whether it happened or not, or things they said, anything is going to be used against them. Like kind of like how like a job does. If like you say something you should on social media, or you do something, and someone catches you on camera,
like they'll look on your social media.
And like that one guy, not to get political, but that one guy who took off the MAGA hat, Make America Great Again hat off that 115-year-old, splash a drink at him. That guy not only got fired from his job, they pressed charges for like felony like assault and all that. Like that guy's life is ruined over like a 15-second, 20-second video. Like that's how dangerous social media has become. It is a weapon now. It is the most terrifying weapon I've seen so far.
I will say, like, just on this topic, just to clarify, like, my stance on this, I don't in any way condone, like, any kind of jokes about pedophilia or anything. I don't want it to come off as, like, I'm condoning it. I'm just saying that it bothers me that a person cannot grow and become a better person and actually move past that.
And the messages of the movies.
Yeah, but you're victimizing somebody by saying that these tweets represent their thoughts right now. Yeah. People can learn and grow over years, especially nearly 10 years ago. He's a different person from back then. And it doesn't matter if you're immature. I think James Gunn's he's like 40s, 50s.
Oh, he's absolutely obviously older. And
yeah, I think he's like in his 50s.
It's not like he's some young
the thing
director.
Is, you're never too old to mature. It doesn't matter. That's my thing is, if we can victimize people now, that bothers me, which is why I was really annoyed. I was really disturbed that Disney cut ties with him right then and there.
They shot themselves in the foot. Because
they really did, because now, like, the entire cast today, as of July 30th,
they're all defending him up and
they came out and they all wrote.
His brother,
everyone that was involved, the entire cast of Guardians of the Galaxy, wrote a letter and posted it on social media. They all contributed and pretty much said that they want him back for Volume 3. And this is me. I don't want anybody touching Guardians of the Galaxy.
They're saying Taika Waititi, like for Thor, from Thor
I'm
Ragnarok.
sorry, I have my own issues with Thor Ragnarok. I think it's Marvel's worst movie, and it honestly makes a joke out of everything in that movie.
Ooh, spicy.
Even a lot of like deaths in that movie that happen are written off as jokes, and it highly bothers me. But my thing is that's that man's unique work, and I don't think anybody else can capture.
Even
he did a lot of,
two had problems, but it was still a great
it
watch.
was a good heartfelt movie. Yeah. Like it brought me to. I'm not gonna lie, the movie brought me to tears.
Me too.
I don't think anybody can recapture
the
magic of that of just those characters and just write them the way they are.
The chemistry, like their stories. That's the one ironic thing that I was trying to mention earlier, and you reminded me of that. The entire message of the first two films and what they were executing was the fact that what they represented was pretty much people, despite where they come from, what they've done, no matter what they've said or done, there is always another chance. There's always another chance to be the best person you can be, to put your life out there on the line, to let your defenses down, and let other people into your lives that can help you grow and mature as a person and show you the love you never felt before. And that's what the Guardians of the Galaxy did. They become an unlikely family in an unlikely scenario in the most unlikely of situations that happened in the first two films. And for people like to quickly turn on James Gunn like that and like not give him that same chance that all these characters have been given, that they're loved for, when Guardians of the Galaxy, correct me if I'm freaking wrong for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but out of all the heroes, they are the most morally gray. At least Tony and Steve, and despite their mistakes and their hiccups, they're at least on like the lawful good alignment. Not to get all D&D on here, but they're straight up chaotic, neutral, and good.
Yeah.
And they're a mess, but that's what people love about them. So if you mean to tell me that you can't give that guy a chance to either one, defend himself, or two, at least try to atone for those things, or realize he is a different person from that point, then what the hell? I mean, again, obviously, if like it's not like he was a pedophile or it's done those terrible things, then if that's the case, throw him in the ringer. But that's not the case.
Yeah, unless you have actual proof that he's done anything
this was
to assault a child or anything.
He never was,
And Disney reacted to this like
too reactionary.
They reacted to this like it was the Roseanne thing. The Roseanne thing is its own thing. What happened to Roseanne was her own thing, and she seemed to stick to how she...
Yeah, it's not like James Gunn just recently started tweeting like this and saying all these really messed up things, and then putting his hands up in the air going, I don't know why they fired me. Like, this is all stuff
I don't think that Disney would have fired him if the Roseanne thing didn't happen. Because the way they reacted, the Roseanne thing, they canceled her show within 2 hours. James Gunn, they fired him within 3 hours.
Yeah.
I think they reacted too reactionary to it. And I'll just say that, like me personally, I think they made the wrong move on this. We're just going to have to wait and see if they offer him the job back, or if they cancel Guardians 3, which I think they should. But, I mean, honestly, the ball's in Disney's court right now.
Now, speaking of the ball being in their court, Disney wins the Fox deal. Thank God the X-Men and the Fantastic Four are coming home where they belong, along with Spider-Man. Well, that's if Sony doesn't fuck it up, but we're going to get to that. We need a counter for every time we say, like, we'll get to that in a minute, or we'll get to that later.
Yeah, we should have.
we got to make a counter the more videos we do. First of all, I am, like, elated. I am happy. I'm excited. I don't feel like the Fantastic Four have been given their fair shake. I mean, I'm not going to give you that guy and say, like, I've been a fan since I was, like, a kid, and I read all their comics. Like, I read them here and there, but I understood their importance to the Marvel Universe and to Stan Lee's, like, creation, his vision. X-Men were more my favorite, but, like, I'm just so happy now that they're going to be given a fair shake, both franchises.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie, because, like, it seemed like we've been waiting forever for this to happen. And it's
How many years, man?
It's like now it's like it's actually happening, but it's like it's crazy. It's honestly just crazy because I didn't think it would ever happen. It seemed like Fox was just so iron gripped on trying to make a universe with just X-Men and Fantastic Four. Like that was all they cared about, and I'm like, okay, but now we finally got them. I feel like because. Honestly, right now, Marvel has a steady plan for what they want to do in the MCU for the next 2 years. So they said that we're not going to be seeing the X-Men for at least another 2 years, which is fine. They
Yeah.
have to figure out how to incorporate stuff like the
This
X-Men.
is tricky now that like Infinity Wars happened and like we're already 3 phases. No, hold on. We're in 4 phases now.
Yeah, this is the fourth.
We're in 4 phases now.
So pretty much what they're doing, from what I'm understanding, is they're pretty much trying to get what they have planned, already done. But when it comes to like Galactus, Silver Surfer, they might actually be in the works sooner than we have. Namor, he's tricky because his rights are tied up with Universal.
Which is so bizarre because they haven't done anything with
It's
them.
bizarre. Just like they're holding on to Hulk and they don't believe Hulk can actually have a standalone movie that works, but yet they want to have a monster universe called Dark Universe. But that's a whole other topic, which is another rant. But honestly, this news is really good news. I think personally Galactus and Silver Surfer will show up out of anything else because I think they're the easiest. Because Avengers 4 are doing reshoots at the end of this year, and they're saying that the merger could be finalized the fastest between the end of this year, but at longest case scenario, going into next year, like late next year. But they said things are moving quicker than they anticipated, so who knows? We might actually start seeing like stuff here and there.
Setting them up.
Yeah, because we're already getting the Skrulls. The Skrulls was already like a thing that
Captain Marvel.
That was already going to appear. So I'm happy we actually get to like use the Skrulls, and with the Fantastic Four, we get like Super Skrulls. It's all really cool stuff.
Now, the only tricky part is where, like, the whole Dark Phoenix and New Mutant situation. I wish they'd cancel the New Mutants. Dark Phoenix, I heard, had very bad, test audience reactions.
It had horrible test.
Apparently, because they could just seem phoned in.
And they're doing a lot of reshoots, and a lot of sets were destroyed, and there's a lot of CGI to recreate those sets. And it honestly just sounds like a mess. And there's a lot of rumors saying that Disney and Fox were going to bite the bullet and cancel it and just release them on.
I mean, honestly, I'm not opposed to that because we
got
the
streaming service or just release them on Blu-ray and just have them be out, and that would just
get it over with.
Apparently, the way they redid it was because they wanted this to be Dark Phoenix was going to be the end of like this.
Honestly, Days of Future Past should have been the end.
It should have been the end. But
if anything, if they're
going to do a sequel, X-Men Apocalypse, and then now it's like
they should have done it with the old cast, like because it made End of Future Past made it seem like there's going to be like brand new adventures with these X-Men. They should have had that was like X2, but I'm not going to talk about that right now. Speaking of series, and like their ending, what do you make of Iron Fist season 2 being the shortest Netflix series to date?
I'm fine with that because because Iron Fist I think was probably the worst.
Oh yeah,
it's the worst thing I think Marvel put out, and my biggest gripe with Iron Fist is the fact that the only reason they did Iron Fist was because of the Defenders, and he was the linchpin because we had to deal with the Hand.
The very last one they had.
And they already like built up to it. If you were gonna do Iron Fist, I would have just introduced him into Defenders and then spun him off. That's how I would have done it, but it felt so rushed. They got Scott Buck who did Dexter. He clearly didn't really seem to give a shit about the character. I didn't care for how they
terrible showrunner.
The showrunner was terrible. The show was terribly written. It was like obscenely violent for no reason. Like an Iron Fist show doesn't have to be like so bloodily violent. Like it's martial arts.
Wasn't even that good.
No, the choreography was awful.
Anytime I thought that there was going to be some kind of
Iron Fist gets his ass beat by street thugs or like people who have minimal martial arts experience. Iron Fist in the comics is the guy. He's like the Bruce Lee that literally somebody can just roll up being experienced as you are. He will kick your ass because he's Iron Fist.
He's got an ass whooping waiting for anybody.
And my thing is he got his chi power,
but he ran away. Season 2 did do him justice.
I haven't watched Luke Cage season. I'm so behind on Netflix shows. I haven't watched Jessica Jones season 2.
You're not missing much.
I haven't watched Punisher. I haven't watched Luke Cage season 2. My mom's watched Luke Cage season 2. She says it's good. People at work have said they watched it. They said it's good. Our friend Dan's watched it. He says it's good.
It was a lot better than season 1. Well, the first half of season 1,
the first half of season 1's great.
Phenomenal.
And my biggest gripe is like what is Jeff Loeb? Jeff Loeb is the guy in charge of the TV division at Marvel.
Right.
Now, the TV division at Marvel, there's a rift between that and the actual movies when it comes to like continuity. They're not great at linking up, and they have reasons for that because they each have their own plans, and there's scheduling conflicts, stuff like that, and you have to get into all that. And honestly, his reasoning for saying that each show has to be 13 episodes is like, oh, they're kind of like obligated to make them 13
Well,
episodes.
that was a big problem with Daredevil season 2 is that a lot of it was kind of taking too long and focusing on stuff that didn't
My thing
have to be
is,
focused on.
if the story is not meant to be 13 episodes, if it's just a 6-episode show, let it be a 6-episode show. It's great to have good 6 episodes, and that means you can invest more of your budget into those 6 episodes and spanning it into 13 episodes.
Right.
Don't drag
And
a
the way
plot
that they
if
made
you don't
the
need to.
trailer look for Iron Fist 2, it looked promising. Again, like I'm not a big fan on the actor they casted, but I'm still willing to give him the fair shake because of how like they did like everything just so rushed and was so messy.
It feels like he can channel the Danny Rand that I know, because Danny Rand's a happy.
Luke Cage season 2.
Danny Rand's a happy-go-lucky guy. I didn't like this whole angsty, brooding, possibly like having like extreme PTSD Danny Rand.
We know who he reminded me
he
of.
didn't get over any of his issues in the first season, but
He
Iron Fist, when he went to the monastery, he went there to go process a lot of that. He's a monk. That's what they do. They learn you to process through. You're supposed to be zen. You're supposed to be in touch with everything. He's not in touch with anything. He gets back. He's so naive. He trusted the villains, and Iron Fist is good at reading people. Especially like monks are good at reading chi and energy.
Season 2 of Luke Cage, they made up for that. Like, when you watch it, like that's Danny Rand.
Everybody kept saying like, oh, it was really good. I'm like, I'm gonna have to check it out. I'm hoping the Iron Fist course corrects. But moving on to more streaming shows, the DC streaming service details have been released. Now, the details from what they have released, they released the price point. The price point is $8, $8.99 a month.
Ah, that's not that bad.
You can actually pre-order the service now if you want. It's $73 for the entire year, and you get an extra 3 months free, and you can potentially win 2 free tickets to go see the Aquaman premiere if you were to purchase it. But what they're offering, they're bringing back pretty much all your favorite DC shows you grew up with. Batman the Animated Series, you got Superman the Animated Series, you got Justice League. All the DCAU shows are on there. All the DC directed DVD movies are going to be on there. The 1941 Superman cartoons are going to be on there.
Wait, the Fleischer cartoons?
They're going to be on there. The Ruby Spears Superman cartoons, the super rare ones, are only 13 episodes. They're going to be on there. Super Friends are going to be on there. All your childhood shows, all the good DC shows you remember from your childhood.
They may have me hooked.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, for $8.
My wallet's going to get the crap kicked out of it.
And you get exclusive collectibles that are only going to be offered to be purchased through that service if you pay for it. And you can read digital comics. Because if you note, Comixology Unlimited, there are no DC comics to read for Unlimited. It's only Marvel. It's only Dynamite. It's only Dark Horse. It's all the other comic companies, even Boom Studios, except for DC Comics, which I found really strange. Come to find out, they're putting all their comic books, a lot of popular ones, they're going to keep uploading them on there. And if you download the app, you can read them on there. So that's another great selling point. Is that you pay $8 a month, you can catch up on all the DC books that you haven't been able to catch up with. Because there's so many books out there, I'm still behind on a lot of continuity.
A lot of those old shows are so hard to pin down because now they're finally coming out with Batman the Animated Series out on Blu-ray for a collection. And now people are going to have that quality for a streaming service and bring back that nostalgia like they did for Power Rangers.
It's going to be in Blu-ray. A lot of the shows are going to be converted into Blu-ray. And they're going to have... And they're going to have a lot of DC's live-action shows. The Flash 90s TV series is going to be on there.
I adored that show.
That show's great. They're having Lois and Clark on there. I love that show.
Yeah.
My uncle had them recorded all on VHS, and I pop in each tape and keep watching and kept watching. Because it was such a good show. And Terry Hatcher is still one of the best Lois Lanes. Because she's still fine as hell. Let's all admit that. She's still
maybe
fine.
Make that a top 10 list. We'll work on that.
Yeah, we'll get something to work
on. Now, we're still on DC, and we promised there are more things to talk about in DC, but DC's been on a bit of I don't want to say a roll, but they've been churning some stuff out. But we do have some rumors based on a possible Batman Year One film, and is Affleck still considering leaving the role?
Yeah, there's a lot of rumors going around that he's definitely not coming back, and Matt Reeves is pretty much his Batman movie. No one knows anything about it. It's mysteriously not mentioned in any of DC's Hall H stuff, which I find really disturbing. And there's no Batman, no Superman. The two A-listers are not mentioned. And I feel bad for Henry Cavill, because the guy really wanted to do...
really good.
When in Justice League, he kept talking about in interviews how he enjoyed playing like the lighthearted
The way Superman should have been.
that's how Superman is. If you don't like Superman like that, guess what? That's just how Superman is. There's different incarnations out there where Superman's a bit more self-serious. The thing is, Superman is not dark and brooding. If you're gonna make a Superman movie,
he has those moments where like he questions like his existence and why does he have to use his powers to serve the greater good, and that's why he has Jor-El and Jonathan Kent, his father figures, to remind him, hey, you have your power for a reason, and he learned to balance those methodologies. He had to in the films, which were grand epics, and he had to in the comics in a lot of different issues, and like they just didn't do that with this incarnation. It's disappointing because Henry Cavill, I think in this modern day and age, I think he was the best casting you could have called for.
Yeah,
I've had no issues with him. He was let down by his directors.
He was let down by the directing. He was let down by the dialogue he was given, and it's like you can see it in his eyes that the guy is in there.
It's like Andrew Garfield. It's like you can tell that guy wanted to be Spider-Man since he was a kid.
Yeah, it's like this guy really has a passion for Superman. He really understands the character. But honestly, he was given a script. You gotta follow the script, and you don't really get much, leeway when it comes to stuff like that, especially in Zack Snyder's direction, because clearly Zack Snyder really didn't care much about Superman and the direction he was going.
Yeah, that's really disappointing. So, on the actual topic, no offense to Ben Affleck, I think he is a really good actor who's always going to be up there on the rankings of the most influential actors of these past few decades since the late 90s. But
I personally think he's too old.
He's too old, and I just don't think he's the right fit. I know that he won the try, and he did give it the old college effort, but I just think that we need someone new to reinvigorate the role.
I don't think he's coming back because he's been screwed over by Warner Bros. Too many times.
Well, yeah, that, and he just knows that pretty much this whole flagship is. It's not even a flagship. It's a dinghy, and this dinghy's getting swallowed up by the wave of either unforeseen situations or backlash or just these shit shows that keep churning out. And I feel bad for the guy. He did give his best effort on the performance, but it's just that's just not Batman to me. Yeah, the costume looks great. Well, there are problems with how the costume moves, but it's not really his fault. But if they use a new Batman, I really do hope they use someone young. I mean, Christian Bale was already 30, 31 when he took on the role. I think we need someone maybe around that age or a bit younger who Christian Bale, because Christian Bale was in that role until he was 38, 39. Yeah. 38. I really do think we need someone like that who can just stay in the role like Robert Downey Jr. or Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman was 32 by the time the first X-Men movie rolled out.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because he had a lot of potential, but honestly, it might just be time for new Batman. This universe, honestly, DC films seem to be going a different direction. There's been rumors, people kept saying they might get rid of Henry Cavill. Walter Hamada and Jeff Johns come out and said that's definitely not the case. They have stuff in the works for Superman. It just won't be coming anytime soon, which is unfortunate. But my thing is, if you're gonna do something right, don't do it too fast. That's why I feel like they're just waiting to see if Shazam and Aquaman really take off. So if Shazam and Aquaman really take off and people are really liking this direction, then I think we'll start hearing some news about Batman and Superman. So I wouldn't, if you honestly, guys, I wouldn't be too worried about that. So I'm optimistic about DC's film future so far, but who knows? Who knows? Honestly, at this point, who knows?
One last thing with Batman. Apparently, there's been a new Batman costume revealed.
Yeah, Batman. He's getting a new costume in DC Comics because with the whole Batman getting married to Catwoman, and for those who have read issue number 51, I believe. Spoilers, you haven't read the issue, but she backs out. And she leaves.
Runaway bride.
And Batman's going back to his classic costume. By classic costume, I mean his black and gray with the underwear, with his classic belt. And if you're thinking of...
39?
We're thinking more of Jim Lee Hush Batman type.
Oh, that was a really good costume.
So we're going back to that. Superman's got his classic underwear back. Batman's going back to basics. Seems like everybody's going back to basics. And honestly, I'm all for it. Seems like DC really knows what they're doing with their comics. Marvel not so much, but I'm kind of hyped for that. And in other comic news, Shazam is getting a new comic series from Jeff Johns. Uh, for those who don't know, Jeff Johns actually wrote Shazam backup series. It was in the Justice League series. It was launched back in the New 52 relaunch. They're the back issues you can read. They've actually been collected, so if you ever want to read those, you can find them on Comixology, or just go to your local comic book shop, or even your Barnes and Noble. They'll probably have it. But they're pretty much those issues. If you've seen the trailer for the new Shazam movie and how Billy Batson's characterized, he's pretty much characterized based off of how Jeff Johns rewrote him, which is fine with me. It's more of a realistic interpretation because Billy Batson, originally he was the more goody two shoes, but in the reboot he had more of like a teenage angst to him. He had like a smart mouth, but he had a heart of gold. But it was written really well. So I think honestly, Jeff Johns, if he's writing the book, I think he's gonna have some good things to offer.
So to wrap things up, we do have one more topic, and I really do think this is the cherry on this really funny cake we've gotten. Star Wars: The Clone Wars has returned.
I didn't think I'd ever see the day Clone Wars was gonna come back, but I'm not gonna lie, the trailer got me so hyped and so excited.
Dave Filoni, you beautiful, beautiful man.
Because apparently we're getting 12 episodes, and they're finally just gonna be able to finish what they started, and pretty much the Star Wars Rebels series, it was good. They paid off a lot of stuff that was set up in Clone Wars, like they brought back different Clone Wars characters and whatnot. But they did a lot of nice setup and payoff, especially like Ahsoka's showdown with Vader and stuff like that.
Wow.
That was all done really well. But to finally see how they really wanted to close this off, I'm not gonna lie, it made me really.
I
excited.
hope they do that episode with Boba Fett and Cad Bane.
I don't know how they're gonna really finish this off because they're doing 12 episodes. I don't know if they're getting to do more.
I'm grateful.
I'm grateful for getting just more in general. I'm just happy to see how this is gonna cap off and how they're gonna actually just really finish this. And for those who are wondering, this is gonna air on Disney's streaming service they're gonna be launching. So if you want to catch it, I would definitely look into their streaming service when it launches. There's no details on that yet. They said they probably won't have any details until next year, right around the time it launches.
Right.
But I would just keep your ear to the ground and see if you hear anything more.
All right, guys. This was Heroes United on our podcast for our first one. Thank you very much for tuning in. We hope you guys have an awesome week, and stay tuned for our spoiler cast for Ant-Man and the Wasp and some other upcoming reviews we have planned. And if you want to close out anything else, Matthew, feel free.
I don't have anything else to offer, but I will say keep a lookout for some new comic book reviews. I have Doctor Strange new series I'm reviewing. I have Amazing Spider-Man by Nick Spencer after Dan Slott left the book. Seems like we're going a new direction for Spider-Man, a good direction. So look out for that and a bunch of other new content coming from both of us. So stay tuned.
All right, guys. This is Heroes United, and we hope to hear from you again soon.
See you guys later.
Peace out.